Some things don't need fixing. They need to burn.
My wife always said, nobody likes a snoop. So here I am at 2 a.m, snooping through her dresser drawers like some pathetic cliche from a bad detective novel. The difference is, I already know what I'm going to find. I just need proof. Jonah Crane, that's me. 38 years old, owner of Crane Print Solutions, and apparently the biggest fool in northeastern Pennsylvania. My wife Elise is upstairs throwing clothes into a suitcase with the frantic energy of someone fleeing a crime scene, which, in a way, she is. "I have to leave, Jonah," she'd announced an hour ago, standing in our bedroom doorway with mascara streaked down her cheeks like war paint. "I'm pregnant. It's Graham's baby. We're moving to Pittsburgh together." Graham Loring. Of course it was Graham freaking Loring. I'd known Graham since high school, back when he was just another pimply kid trying to impress girls with his father's money. Now he runs some cybersecurity consulting firm downtown, drives a BMW, and apparently has been screwing my wife for God knows how long. But here's the thing about being married to someone for 12 years. You learn their tells. Elise touches her left earring when she lies. She'd been practically yanking the thing off her ear during her tearful confession. That's why I'm down here in our cluttered living room, rifling through the desk where she keeps her medical files. The same desk where she does her HR work for Brennan Industries, surrounded by motivational posters about synergy and team building that make me want to vomit. My fingers find the manila folder marked Personal Medical. Inside, buried beneath old insurance forms and prescription receipts, is Dr. Patricia Henley's letterhead from last month. Patient, Elise Marie Crane, following up on your consultation regarding permanent sterilization. As discussed, the bilateral salpingectomy performed in 2019 was successful. You remain unable to conceive naturally. I take a photo of the document with my phone, my hands surprisingly steady. Elise had that surgery after we decided we didn't want children. She'd been adamant about it, said she never wanted to be tied down by screaming brats. Funny how quickly people's priorities change when they want to escape their current life. Upstairs, I hear her dragging the suitcase across the hardwood floor. She's really committed to this performance. I have to admire the dedication, even as I'm planning how to destroy her world. The front door chimes. Our old Victorian townhouse has one of those elaborate doorbell systems that plays the first few notes of Fur Elise. Elise had insisted on it when we moved in, thought it was classy. Right now, it sounds like a funeral dirge. I slip the medical file back into place and walk to the window. Graham's BMW is idling at the curb, exhaust puffing white clouds into the October night. He's leaning against the driver's side door, checking his Rolex like he's got somewhere important to be, at 2:30 in the morning. "Sure, Graham." Elise comes thundering down the stairs, pulling her suitcase behind her like she's fleeing a burning building. She's changed into her serious outfit, the navy blue power suit she wears to important meetings, paired with those ridiculously expensive heels she bought last Christmas. "This is it, Jonah," she says, not quite meeting my eyes. "I know this is hard, but Graham and I, we love each other. We want to build a life together." "With the baby," I say, keeping my voice neutral. "Yes." Her hand drifts to her stomach in what she probably thinks is a maternal gesture. "With our baby." I nod thoughtfully like I'm processing this devastating news. "Well, if you're happy, then I guess that's what matters." She blinks, clearly expecting more of a fight. You're okay with this?" "Elise, we haven't been happy for years. You know it, I know it. If Graham makes you happy, then go be happy." This is true, actually. We'd been going through the motions for the better part of 3 years, like actors in a play that had run too long. The only surprise was that she'd chosen such an elaborate exit strategy. She stares at me for a moment, then grabs her suitcase handle. "I'll send for the rest of my things." "Sure thing. Take care of yourself." I follow her to the front door, playing the part of the gracious, defeated husband. Graham straightens up as we approach, his face carefully arranged in an expression of solemn concern. He's always been a decent actor. "Jonah," he says with a nod, "I'm sorry it had to be this way." "These things happen," I reply, then reach into my jacket pocket and pull out my phone. "Actually, Graham, before you go, there's something you should see." I show him the photo of the medical report, watching his face carefully. For just a moment, his composure cracks. His eyes widen slightly, and I see him glance at Elise, who's loading her suitcase into the back seat. "Interesting reading," I murmur, just loud enough for him to hear. "You sure you know what you're buying?" Graham recovers quickly, but not before I catch the flash of anger in his eyes. "Thanks for the heads up," he says quietly. Elise slams the car door and walks back to where we're standing. "Ready?" she asks Graham, her voice bright with forced cheer. "Absolutely," he says, but his tone has changed. Cooler, more distant. They drive away into the night, and I stand in my doorway watching the taillights disappear around the corner. Mrs. Rourke, our nosy neighbor, is peeking through her curtains. I wave at her cheerfully. Back inside, I pour myself 3 fingers of bourbon and settle into my recliner. Tomorrow, I'll start making some calls. Davy Baxter tends bar at O'Malley's downtown, and Davy knows everyone's business. More importantly, Davy owes me a favor from when I helped him out of that mess with his ex-wife's lawyer last year. I raise my glass to the empty room. Here's to new beginnings. The bourbon burns going down, but not as much as the satisfaction warming my chest. Elise thinks she's so clever, but she's forgotten something important about her husband of 12 years. I don't just run a printing business. I understand how information spreads, how stories get told, how reputations get built up and torn down, and I'm very, very good at my job. O'Malley's pub sits on the corner of 5th and Market like a stubborn old drunk who refuses to go home. The neon Guinness sign flickers erratically, casting intermittent green shadows across the cracked sidewalk. Inside, the air is thick with cigarette smoke and broken dreams. Exactly the kind of place where information flows as freely as the cheap whiskey. Davy Baxter is wiping down glasses behind the bar when I walk in Thursday evening, exactly 3 days after Elise's dramatic exit. He's a big man, ex-cop, who left the force after 20 years in a bad incident on the job that wasn't his fault but haunted him anyway. Now he serves drinks and listens to people's problems, which makes him the most informed man in the city. "Jonah!" he calls out, his face splitting into a grin. "Heard your wife ran off with that fancy boy Graham Loring. How you holding up?" The bar goes quiet. Monica Walsh, one of Elise's work friends, is sitting at a corner table with 2 other women I don't recognize. She's pretending not to listen, but her ears are practically twitching. Perfect. "Yeah, it's been rough," I say, sliding onto a bar stool. "She said she's pregnant. They're moving to Pittsburgh together to start fresh." Davy pours me a bourbon without being asked. "Pregnant, huh? That's sudden. Tell me about it. 12 years of marriage, and she never wanted kids. Suddenly she meets up with her old boyfriend, and boom, maternal instincts kick in. I make sure my voice carries just enough to reach Monica's table. She's leaning forward now, not even pretending to pay attention to her companions. "Graham Loring," Davy muses, polishing a glass with more attention than it needs. "Cybersecurity consultant. Makes good money. Drives that fancy BMW. Yeah, well, apparently he's got everything I don't, including the ability to give my wife the baby she suddenly desperately wants." Monica's chair scrapes against the floor as she stands up. She whispers something to her friends and heads for the bathroom, but I catch her pulling out her phone as she walks away. Davy notices too. He leans across the bar, lowering his voice. "You want to tell me what's really going on here?" "What do you mean?" "Jonah, I've known you for 15 years. You don't air your dirty laundry in public unless you're planning something. And that look in your eyes, that's not heartbreak. That's calculation." I take a sip of bourbon, considering how much to tell him. Davy's trustworthy, but he's also got a conscience that sometimes gets in the way of practical solutions. Let's just say I have reason to believe Graham and Elise's relationship might not be as solid as they think it is. "Ah," Davy nods knowingly. "You need some information." "I need to know where they're staying, what they're doing, who they're talking to. Nothing illegal?" I add quickly. "Just surveillance." Davy sets down the glass he's been polishing. "This is about more than just your wife cheating, isn't it?" I drain my bourbon and stand up. "Graham Loring has been planning this for a long time, Davy. This isn't some spontaneous affair. It's revenge." "Revenge for what?" "Something that happened in high school. Something involving his sister Trish." Davy's expression darkens. "Trish Loring. Yeah, I remember her. Quiet girl. Had some kind of breakdown senior year, didn't she?" "Something like that." I pull out my wallet and drop a 20 on the bar. "I'll be in touch." I'm halfway to the door when Monica intercepts me, her face flushed with excitement and alcohol. "Jonah, I'm so sorry about Elise," she gushes, grabbing my arm. "I had no idea she was seeing someone. She never said anything at work." "Yeah, well, apparently it's been going on for a while." I arrange my features into an expression of wounded dignity. "She said Graham's the love of her life, that they're meant to be together. And the baby, due in the spring, according to Elise. They're planning a quick wedding once they get settled in Pittsburgh." Monica's eyes widen. This is pure gold for someone like her. She's the office gossip at Brennan Industries, the kind of person who knows everyone's business and isn't shy about sharing it. I can't believe she didn't tell anyone, Monica says, shaking her head. We had lunch just last week, and she seemed perfectly normal. People change, I say with a shrug. Sometimes you don't really know someone, even after 12 years of marriage. I leave Monica standing there, already composing the text messages that will spread this story throughout Brennan Industries by morning. By the end of the week, it'll be common knowledge that Elise Crane ran off with her rich boyfriend to have his baby, which makes what happens next so much more satisfying. Back home, I settle into my office, the converted bedroom where I handle the administrative side of Crane Print Solutions. The walls are lined with samples of our work: wedding invitations, business cards, promotional flyers, all the little pieces of paper that help people tell their stories to the world. I open my laptop and navigate to the Brennan Industries website. Elise works in human resources, which means she has access to sensitive employee information. Sleeping with a subordinate would be a fireable offense, but sleeping with an outside contractor while having access to confidential data, that's a whole different level of problem. I draft an anonymous email to Brennan's compliance department, carefully outlining concerns about a potential security breach involving an HR employee and an outside cybersecurity consultant. I don't mention names. I don't have to. There aren't that many HR employees at Brennan, and Graham's company has done work for them in the past. I don't send it yet. Timing is everything. My phone buzzes with a text from Davy. Found them. Downtown loft on 7th Street, Loring's place. Want details? I text back. Everything you can get me. 20 minutes later, my phone rings. They had dinner at Romano's tonight, Davy reports. Expensive place. She was wearing that red dress, the one she wore to your company Christmas party last year. How do you know what she was wearing? Because my cousin Terry was their server. Says they looked tense. Lots of quiet arguing. The woman kept touching her stomach, but the guy seemed annoyed by it. Interesting. Graham's already figured out the pregnancy is fake, but he's playing along, which means he's got his own agenda. Anything else? Terry says the guy paid cash. Big tipper, but he seemed distracted, kept checking his phone. Thanks, Davy. I owe you. Jonah, be careful. Whatever you're planning, make sure it doesn't blow back on you. I hang up and lean back in my chair, staring at the ceiling. Graham thinks he's so smart, orchestrating this elaborate scheme to humiliate me. But he's made one crucial mistake. He's forgotten that I know about Trish. Trish Loring was 17 when we dated, a quiet girl with dark hair and sad eyes, who wrote poetry and dreamed of studying literature in college. I was 18, cocky and stupid, and when she told me she was pregnant, I panicked. I told her I wasn't ready to be a father, that we were too young, that she should take care of it. She miscarried 2 weeks later, a natural miscarriage, not a procedure to end the pregnancy, but I was too much of a coward to be there for her. I broke up with her right after, claiming we wanted different things. She never went to college, never got over the loss. Spent years in and out of therapy, struggling with depression and anxiety, and Graham never forgave me for it. I understand now why he chose Elise. It wasn't random. He wanted me to experience the same thing his sister did, being abandoned by someone I trusted, left alone to deal with the consequences of their betrayal. The irony is beautiful. Graham constructed this elaborate revenge fantasy around a fake pregnancy, not knowing that Elise can't actually have children. He's planning to abandon her just like I abandoned his sister, but he's doing it based on a lie. I pull up Graham's business website and start reading. Loring Cybersecurity Solutions has an impressive client list, including several local government contracts. Graham's built quite a reputation for himself over the years. Reputations are fragile things. They take years to build and can be destroyed in minutes. I start making a list. Friday morning brings the first crack in Graham's perfect plan. I'm having coffee at Rosie's Diner, a greasy spoon 2 blocks from my print shop, when I spot Elise through the window. She's walking down Market Street alone, looking lost and confused. Her hair is disheveled, and she's wearing the same clothes from yesterday. The confident woman who left my house 4 days ago has been replaced by someone who looks like she's been sleeping in her car. I pay for my coffee and follow her at a distance. She stops at 3 different ATMs, trying each one with increasing frustration. At the third machine, she actually kicks it, drawing stares from passing pedestrians. My phone buzzes with a text from Davy. Your boy Graham was at the bar last night. Drunk as heck, kept talking about lying witches and family honor. Thought you should know. So Graham confronted her about the fake pregnancy. Good, that saves me the trouble. I duck into Morrison's hardware store as Elise turns around, scanning the street like she's looking for someone. Her face is pale, and there are dark circles under her eyes. For a moment, I almost feel sorry for her. She pulls out her phone and makes a call. Even from across the street, I can see her growing agitation as whoever she's calling doesn't answer. She tries again and again. Finally, she gives up and starts walking toward the bus station. I follow her for 3 more blocks, watching as she stops at a payphone outside the Greyhound station. She feeds quarters into the machine and dials a number from memory. "Mom?" Her voice carries across the street, high and desperate. "Mom, I need help. Something terrible has happened." I can't hear the other side of the conversation, but I can see Elise's face crumple as she listens. "No, I understand. I know what I said, but please, Mom, I have nowhere else to go." She hangs up and stands there for a moment, staring at the phone like it might offer some solution to her problems. Then she sits down on the bench and puts her head in her hands. Elise burned a lot of bridges when she left. Her parents never approved of our marriage, but they really didn't approve of her affair. Her mother is a devout Catholic who takes a dim view of adultery, and her father is the kind of man who believes in consequences. I walk back to my shop where my employee, Sam, is setting up the morning print run. "Morning, boss," he calls out cheerfully. "How you holding up?" Sam Peterson is 24, fresh out of community college with a degree in graphic design and enough enthusiasm to power a small city. He's also Monica Walsh's nephew, which makes him an excellent source of information about what's happening at Brennan Industries. "I'm managing," I tell him, hanging up my jacket. "How's your Aunt Monica doing?" "Oh man, she's been texting me nonstop since Wednesday night. She's all worked up about your wife and that Graham guy." "Yeah? What's she saying?" Sam looks uncomfortable. I probably shouldn't repeat it. "Sam, my wife left me for another man. I think I can handle whatever Monica's saying about it." "Well, she's been telling everyone at Brennan about the pregnancy and the move to Pittsburgh. But yesterday, something weird happened." I busy myself checking the inventory sheets, keeping my voice casual. "Weird how?" "Aunt Monica got called into a meeting with HR and compliance. They asked her a bunch of questions about your wife and whether she'd been acting strange lately. Then they asked about Graham Loring and whether Monica knew about any relationship between him and Elise." Perfect. My anonymous email worked exactly as intended. What did Monica tell them? The truth, I guess, that she didn't know anything about it until you mentioned it at O'Malley's. But here's the really weird part. They asked her not to discuss it with anyone else, said it was a personnel matter, which means Brennan Industries is taking the potential security breach seriously. Elise's job is almost certainly in jeopardy, especially if they discover she's been lying about being pregnant. Did Monica mention anything else? Sam fidgets with a stack of business cards. "She said something about how your wife hasn't been answering her phone. Monica tried calling her yesterday to check on her, but it went straight to voicemail. Because Graham probably threw her out Wednesday night after confronting her about the fake pregnancy. She's been on the streets for 2 days, trying to figure out her next move. The front door chimes and Davy walks in carrying 2 cups of coffee and a bag from Rosie's diner. "Thought you might be hungry," he says, setting the bag on my desk. "We need to talk." I send Sam on an errand to the paper supply warehouse, giving us privacy. Davy settles into the chair across from my desk, his expression serious. "Your wife's been sleeping in her car," he says without preamble, parking behind the old Woolworth building. "Mrs. Chen, who runs the laundromat, says she's been coming in to use the bathroom and wash her face." "How do you know all this?" "Because I've been keeping an eye on the situation, like you asked. Graham threw her out Wednesday night, had her stuff waiting on the curb when she got back from wherever she went during the day." I unwrapped the sandwich Davy brought, pastrami on rye, my usual order. "What about Graham?" "That's the interesting part. He's been telling people a different story. Says your wife came on to him, claimed she was pregnant with his kid, and tried to get him to leave town with her. He's painting himself as the victim of some crazy woman's obsession. Smart. Gets ahead of the narrative before she can tell her side. Except there's a problem with his story," Davy continues. "See, I did some checking. Graham's been planning this for months, maybe longer." He pulls out a manila folder and slides it across the desk. Inside are printouts of credit card statements, hotel receipts, and restaurant bills. "How did you get these?" "I still have friends on the force. Friends who owe me favors." Davy leans forward. "Graham's been meeting with your wife since February. Always the same pattern, lunch at expensive restaurants, Always cash payments, always when you were out of town on business. I study the documents. February 14th, Valentine's Day, how romantic. He's been planning this for 8 months, I murmur. The bastard's been planning this for 8 months. Gets better. Remember I mentioned his sister Trish? Turns out she's been helping him. She's the one who suggested targeting your wife specifically. My blood runs cold. Trish is involved? Up to her eyeballs. She works for a private investigation firm now. Been feeding Graham information about your marriage, your business, your daily routines. They've been studying you like a bug under a microscope. I set down my sandwich, my appetite gone. This isn't just about revenge for what happened in high school. This is about systematic destruction. There's more, Davy says quietly. Graham's been spreading rumors about your business, questioning your reliability, suggesting you might be having financial problems. 3 of your regular clients have called me asking if it's true. Which clients? Henderson Auto, Brennan Industries, and the law firm on State Street, all asking the same questions, whether you're stable, whether they should be concerned about outstanding orders. I lean back in my chair, processing this information. Graham isn't just trying to destroy my marriage, he's trying to destroy my entire life. What do you want to do about it? Davy asks. I look at him across the desk, this loyal friend who's been gathering intelligence and watching my back without being asked. Davy's a good man, the kind who believes in justice and doing the right thing, which is why I can't tell him what I'm really planning. I want you to keep watching them, I say finally. Both of them, Elise and Graham, document everything they do, everyone they talk to, everywhere they go. What about Trish? Leave Trish to me. Davy studies my face for a long moment. Jonah, whatever you're thinking, be smart about it. Don't let anger make you stupid. I'm not angry, I tell him, and it's the truth. I'm focused. After Davy leaves, I sit alone in my office, staring at the evidence of Graham's elaborate scheme. 8 months of planning. 8 months of seducing my wife, gathering information, positioning all the pieces for maximum damage. He's good. I'll give him that. But he's made one crucial mistake. He's assumed I'm the same scared 18-year-old who ran away from Trish 20 years ago. He thinks I'll just roll over and accept whatever punishment he's decided I deserve. He's about to learn how wrong he is. I pull out my phone and dial a number I haven't called in 15 years. Trish, it's Jonah Crane. I think it's time we talked. The Riverside Diner sits on the outskirts of town like a forgotten relic from the 1950s, all chrome and red vinyl and dreams that never quite came true. It's the kind of place where people go when they don't want to be seen, which makes it perfect for the conversation I'm about to have. Trish Loring arrives exactly on time, sliding into the booth across from me with the careful movements of someone who's learned not to trust the world. 20 years have changed her. The sad-eyed teenager I once knew has been replaced by a woman with sharp cheekbones and calculating eyes. Her dark hair is shorter now, professionally styled, and she's wearing an expensive suit that screams success. "Hello, Jonah," she says, her voice neutral. "You look good." "You too, Trish. I heard you're working in private investigation now." "Among other things," she signals the waitress for coffee, her movements precise and controlled. "I assume this isn't a social call?" "No, it's not." The waitress brings coffee and retreats, sensing the tension at our table. Trish adds cream and sugar with the same methodical attention she once brought to her poetry. "So," she says finally, I know your brother's been planning this for months. I know you've been helping him. I know this whole thing is about what happened in high school." Trish nods slowly. "Graham told me you'd figured it out eventually. You were always smarter than you pretended to be. Smart enough to know this isn't really about Elise. She's just collateral damage." "Collateral damage?" Trish repeats the phrase like she's tasting it. Interesting choice of words. I lean forward, studying her face. "You want to tell me why, Trish? After all these years, why now?" She takes a sip of coffee, considering her answer. When she speaks, her voice is soft but steady. "Do you remember what you said to me the last time we talked?" I try to recall that conversation from 20 years ago, but the details are hazy. I was 18, scared, and probably said a lot of things I shouldn't have. "You told me I was stupid for thinking you could ever love someone like me," Trish continues. "You said I was damaged goods and that no decent man would want me after what happened." The words hit me like a physical blow. I don't remember saying them, but I can hear my 18-year-old voice speaking them, cruel and careless and designed to hurt. Trish, you were right, you know. She sets down her coffee cup with deliberate care. I never did find anyone. Never married. Never had children. Spent years in therapy trying to understand why I wasn't worth loving. That's not true. You were worth loving. I was just too young and too stupid to— Stop. Her voice cuts through my apology like a blade. I don't need your pity now. I needed your support then. We sit in silence for a moment, the weight of 20 years settling between us like dust. So this is revenge, I say finally. This is justice. Trish leans back in the booth, her expression calm. You destroyed my life, Jonah. You took away my future, my ability to trust, my sense of self-worth. Graham and I decided it was time you experienced the same thing. By destroying my marriage, by ruining my business, by showing you what it feels like to lose everything you care about. Her smile is cold and satisfied. How does it feel, Jonah? Knowing that the person you trusted most has been lying to you? Knowing that everyone you thought was your friend is talking about you behind your back? I study her face, looking for some trace of the girl I once knew. But that girl is gone. Replaced by someone harder and more dangerous. There's just one problem with your plan, I say. Oh? What's that? I pull out my phone and show her the photo of Elise's medical report. Trish's composure cracks for just a moment, her eyes widening as she reads. Your brother based his whole revenge fantasy on a fake pregnancy, I continue. But Elise can't actually have children. She had surgery 4 years ago. Trish stares at the phone screen, her mind working through the implications. She lied to him. She lied to everyone, including me, apparently. She was planning to run off with Graham, let him believe she was pregnant, and then claim she miscarried after they were settled in Pittsburgh. But Graham already knows the truth. He confronted her Wednesday night, which means your carefully planned revenge just became a complete disaster of epic proportions. I lean forward, watching her face. Graham threw Elise out, but he can't admit the truth without looking like an idiot. So now he's spinning a story about being the victim of some crazy woman's obsession. Trish's hands are trembling slightly as she reaches for her coffee. He didn't tell me. Because he's protecting his own reputation at your expense. All those months of planning, all that careful orchestration, and it's falling apart because neither of you bothered to verify the one crucial detail. This doesn't change anything, she says, but her voice lacks conviction. You still deserve to pay for what you did. Maybe I do. But Elise doesn't deserve to be homeless and broke because of something that happened 20 years ago. Trish looks up sharply. You're defending her after what she did? I'm stating facts. Elise is sleeping in her car behind the old Woolworth building. She's lost her job, her home, and her future because she got caught up in your brother's revenge scheme. Whatever she did wrong, she doesn't deserve that. For the first time since she sat down, Trish looks uncertain. Her job? Brennan Industries fired her yesterday. Turns out sleeping with an outside contractor while having access to confidential employee data is a fireable offense. Who knew? Trish stares at me, pieces clicking into place. You reported her. I made sure the right people asked the right questions. The rest was inevitable. You bastard. But there's admiration in her voice along with the anger. You're not the same person you were in high school. No, I'm not. I've learned a few things about consequences over the years. We sit in silence again, two middle-aged people carrying 20 years of hurt and anger and regret. What do you want, Jonah? Trish asks finally. I want you to call off your brother. End this. Elise has been punished enough. And if I don't, I lean back in the booth, my expression calm. Then I'll have to handle this my own way. Is that a threat? It's a statement of fact. Graham has been spreading rumors about my business, trying to destroy my reputation. He's been planning this for 8 months, involving innocent people in his revenge fantasy. If he doesn't stop, I'll make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of man he really is. Trish studies my face, looking for weakness. You're bluffing. Am I? You've been investigating me for months, Trish. You know what I'm capable of when I'm motivated. She finishes her coffee and stands up, smoothing her skirt. I'll talk to Graham. See that you do. She's halfway to the door when she turns back. For what it's worth, Jonah, I'm sorry about what I said to you when we were kids. You didn't deserve that. Yes, I did. But thank you for saying it. After she leaves, I sit alone in the booth, processing what just happened. Trish is still angry, still hurt, but she's not unreasonable. She'll try to convince Graham to back off. The question is whether Graham will listen. My phone buzzes with a text from Sam. Boss, you need to get back to the shop. There's a problem. I pay for the coffee and drive back to Crane Print Solutions, my mind racing through possibilities. When I pull up to the shop, I see 3 police cars parked outside and my stomach drops. Inside, Sam is talking to 2 uniformed officers while a detective in a cheap suit examines my computer. What's going on? I ask. The detective looks up, his expression neutral. Mr. Crane, I'm Detective Morrison. We've received a complaint about potential fraud involving your business. What kind of fraud? Anonymous tip says you've been overcharging clients and providing substandard work. We're here to examine your records. I look at Sam, who shrugs helplessly. They showed up about an hour ago with a warrant. Graham's escalating. Instead of backing down after his conversation with Trish, he's doubling down on his attack. The fraud allegation is BS. My books are clean and my work is quality. But the investigation will tie up my business for weeks. I'll need to see that warrant, I tell Detective Morrison. He hands me the paperwork and I scan it quickly. The complaint is detailed and specific, mentioning client names and alleged discrepancies. Someone with inside knowledge of my business provided this information. Someone like Trish. I hand the warrant back to Morrison and walk to my office, pulling out my phone. I dial Graham's number, not caring who might be listening. Graham Loring. This is Jonah Crane. I just had an interesting conversation with your sister. Did you? How nice for you. I thought we might be able to work something out. End this thing before it gets out of hand. Graham's laugh is cold and humorless. End it? Jonah, we're just getting started. Is that right? You have no idea what I'm capable of, what I've been planning. Your wife was just the beginning. I watched Detective Morrison photographing my client files. My jaw clenched with suppressed rage. Graham? Yeah? You just made a very big mistake. I hang up and turn to Detective Morrison. Detective, I'd like to file a complaint about harassment and conspiracy to commit fraud. Morrison looks up from my computer. Against who? Graham Loring and Trish Loring. I have evidence that they've been conducting a coordinated campaign to destroy my business and my reputation. I pull out the folder Davy gave me, spreading the credit card statements and surveillance photos across my desk. This should be very interesting, I tell Morrison. Very interesting indeed. The Loring siblings made their first real mistake when they involved the police. What they didn't count on was Detective Morrison being a thorough man with a suspicious nature and 23 years of experience dealing with people who think they're cleverer than they are. It takes Morrison exactly 4 hours to determine that the fraud complaint against my business is fabricated. It takes him another 2 hours to trace the anonymous tip back to a burner phone purchased with cash at a convenience store 3 blocks from Graham's office. By Friday evening, Morrison is sitting in my kitchen drinking coffee and looking through the surveillance materials Davy collected. This is some serious stalking behavior, he says, studying a photograph of Graham and Trish meeting at a restaurant downtown. How long did you say this has been going on? At least 8 months, probably longer. I refill his coffee cup. They've been systematically gathering information about my personal life, my business, my daily routines. And you think this is connected to something that happened in high school? I know it is. Trish admitted it when I met with her yesterday. Morrison nods, making notes in his little book. The thing is, Mr. Crane, most of what they've done isn't technically illegal. Sleeping with your wife, spreading rumors about your business, even conducting surveillance, none of that rises to the level of criminal activity. What about the false police report? That's different. Filing a false report is a crime, but proving they did it is going to be tricky without more evidence. I lean back in my chair, frustrated. So they can destroy my life with impunity? I didn't say that. Morrison closes his notebook and looks at me seriously. I said most of what they've done isn't criminal, but harassment, conspiracy, and filing false reports, those are crimes. We just need to build a stronger case. What kind of case? The kind where they hang themselves. People like the Lorings, people who think they're smarter than everyone else. They always overreach. They can't help themselves. Morrison finishes his coffee and stands up. In the meantime, I'd suggest you be very careful. Document everything. Record all conversations if it's legal to do so. And don't do anything that could be construed as retaliation. After Morrison leaves, I sit alone in my kitchen thinking about his advice. Don't retaliate, document everything, build a case. The problem is, I'm not interested in building a legal case against the Lorings. I'm interested in destroying them the same way they've been trying to destroy me. My phone rings. It's Davy. You need to get down to O'Malley's, he says without preamble. Now, what's wrong? Just get down here. And Jonah, you might want to bring a lawyer. I drive downtown through the Friday night traffic, my mind racing through possibilities. O'Malley's is packed when I arrive. The usual crowd of office workers and local regulars drowning their weekly sorrows in cheap beer and cheaper whiskey. Davy meets me at the door, his face grim. She's in the back booth, he says quietly. Been here for 2 hours, drinking steadily and telling anyone who'll listen about how you and Graham conspired to ruin her life. Elise? She's drunk, angry, and looking for someone to blame. Right now, that someone is you. I follow Davy through the crowd to the back of the bar, where Elise is holding court at a corner booth. She's surrounded by a small audience of regulars who are clearly enjoying the drama. Her hair is unwashed, her clothes are wrinkled, and she's clutching a glass of whiskey like it's the only thing keeping her upright. There he is, she announces loudly as she spots me. The devoted husband! The understanding man who just wanted me to be happy! The bar goes quiet, everyone turning to watch the show. Elise stands up unsteadily, pointing at me with her free hand. You want to know what kind of man Jonah Crane really is? She asks the room. He's the kind of man who destroys your life and then pretends it's for your own good. Elise, you're drunk, I say quietly. Let me drive you somewhere safe. Safe? She laughs bitterly. Where's safe, Jonah? I lost my job because of you. I lost my home because of you. I'm sleeping in my fucking car because of you. You lost those things because you lied to everyone, including yourself. I lied? Her voice rises to a shriek. You're the one who set me up. You and Graham working together to make me look like a fool. The accusation is so absurd that several people in the crowd actually laugh. Elise's face flushes red with embarrassment and rage. You think this is funny? She demands, spinning around to face the room. You think it's funny that 2 men conspired to destroy an innocent woman? Lady, you cheated on your husband, calls out one of the regulars. Nobody conspired to do anything. You did it to yourself. Elise turns back to me, her eyes wild with desperation. Tell them, Jonah. Tell them how you planned this with Graham. How you wanted to get rid of me so you could have your precious freedom. Elise, Graham and I haven't spoken in 20 years. Whatever happened between you two had nothing to do with me. Liar! She throws her whiskey glass at me, missing by several feet. The glass shatters against the wall, and suddenly Davy is there, grabbing Elise's arms and restraining her. That's enough, he says firmly. Time to go. Get your hands off me. Elise struggles against his grip. I know my rights. I can say whatever I want. Not in my bar, you can't. Davy starts walking her toward the door, ignoring her protests. You're drunk. You're disturbing my customers, and you just committed assault. I follow them outside, where Davy releases Elise on the sidewalk. She stumbles, but manages to stay upright, glaring at both of us with undisguised hatred. This isn't over, Jonah, she says, her words slurred but her intent clear. I'm going to tell everyone what you really are. I'm going to destroy you the same way you destroyed me. With what? I ask calmly. Lies? Accusations you can't prove? Elise, you don't have any credibility left. Nobody's going to believe anything you say. The truth of this statement hits her like a physical blow. She looks around the street as if searching for allies, but there's no one there except a few bar patrons who've come outside to smoke and watch the drama. I hate you, she whispers. I hate you so much. I know, I reply, but that's your problem now, not mine. She walks away into the night, her shoulders shaking with suppressed sobs. I watch her go, feeling nothing but a cold satisfaction. Jesus, Jonah, Davy says quietly. That was brutal. She made her choices, Davy. She's dealing with the consequences. And the Lorings? What about them? I turn to look at him, my expression calm. What about them? Don't play dumb with me. I can see it in your eyes. You're planning something. I'm planning to protect myself and my business from people who want to destroy me. If that makes me the bad guy, so be it. Davy studies my face for a long moment. You're not the same person you were 2 weeks ago. No, I'm not. 2 weeks ago, I was naive enough to believe that good people get rewarded and bad people get punished. Now I know better. And what do you know now? I look back toward the bar, where the crowd is already returning to their drinks and their conversations, the drama of Elise's breakdown already becoming just another story to tell. I know that if you want justice in this world, you have to take it yourself. I drive home through the empty streets, my mind clear and focused for the first time in weeks. The Lorings won a war? They've got one. But they're about to learn that they're not the only ones who can plan and scheme and destroy lives. They're about to learn what happens when you corner a man who has nothing left to lose. Monday morning brings news that changes everything. I'm reviewing the weekend's print orders when Sam walks into my office with a newspaper and an expression of barely contained excitement. "Boss, you need to see this," he says, spreading the local paper across my desk. The headline reads, "Local businessman arrested in cybersecurity fraud scheme." Below it is a photograph of Graham Loring being led away in handcuffs. I read the article quickly. Graham's been charged with defrauding 3 local businesses, including Brennan Industries, by overcharging for security services and providing substandard protection. The investigation was triggered by an anonymous tip about irregular billing practices. "Holy crap," Sam breathes. "Your wife's boyfriend is going to prison." I keep reading. The article mentions that Graham's sister, Patricia Loring, is also being investigated for her role in gathering confidential information about the targeted businesses. Both siblings are facing multiple felony charges. My phone rings. It's Detective Morrison. "Mr. Crane, I thought you'd want to know. We arrested Graham Loring this morning on fraud charges. Turns out your complaint about harassment led us to some interesting discoveries about his business practices." "What kind of discoveries?" "The kind that suggest he's been running a long-term con game on his clients, overcharging, providing fake security reports, selling confidential information to competitors. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars in fraudulent billings." I lean back in my chair, processing this information. "And his sister? She's next. Turns out private investigators aren't supposed to conduct surveillance on behalf of family members seeking personal revenge. That's called stalking, and it's illegal." After Morrison hangs up, I sit alone in my office, staring at Graham's photograph in the newspaper. He looks smaller in handcuffs, less intimidating. Just another middle-aged man who thought he was smarter than everyone else. The irony is perfect. Graham spent months planning his elaborate revenge scheme, but his real downfall came from his own greed and arrogance. The fraud charges have nothing to do with me. They're the result of years of criminal behavior that was bound to catch up with him eventually. My involvement was simply providing the catalyst that brought everything to light. My phone buzzes with a text from Davy. "Saw the news. Buy you lunch to celebrate?" I text back, "Rain check. I have something to take care of first." I find Elise at the Riverside Diner, the same place where I met with Trish 5 days ago. She's sitting alone in a corner booth, staring at a cup of coffee that's probably gone cold hours ago. She looks terrible, hollow-eyed, unwashed, wearing the same clothes she had on at O'Malley's Friday night. "Mind if I sit down?" I ask. She looks up at me with dull, defeated eyes. "Come to gloat?" "No, I came to talk." I slide into the booth across from her, noting the newspaper folded beside her plate. She's seen the headlines about Graham's arrest. "So," she says quietly, "I guess we both got played." "Looks that way." "He never loved me, did he? It was all just part of some sick revenge fantasy." I consider lying, offering her some comfort, but she deserves the truth. "No, he didn't love you. He was using you to get back at me for something that happened 20 years ago." Elise nods slowly, as if this confirms something she already suspected. "And you? Did you ever love me?" The question catches me off guard. I think about our 12 years of marriage, trying to identify when love turned into habit, when passion became routine. "Once," I say finally, "a long time ago. But not anymore. No, not anymore." We sit in silence for a moment, 2 people who once shared a life, now sitting across from each other like strangers. "I'm sorry, Jonah," she says suddenly, "for all of it. For the affair, for the lies, for what I said at the bar Friday night. I was angry and drunk and looking for someone to blame. I know. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I wanted you to know that I'm sorry." I study her face, looking for signs of manipulation or calculation. But all I see is exhaustion and genuine remorse. "What are you going to do now?" I ask. "I don't know. I lost my job, my home, my savings. My parents won't talk to me. My friends think I'm crazy." She laughs bitterly. "Graham really did destroy my life, just not in the way he planned." "You could start over, move somewhere new, find a new job." "With what money? And who's going to hire me after what happened at Brennan?" Word gets around in HR circles. She's right. Her reputation in the local business community is finished, but she's still young enough to rebuild somewhere else, if she has the courage to try. I reach into my jacket and pull out an envelope, setting it on the table between us. "What's this?" she asks. "A cashier's check for $50,000, enough to relocate, get an apartment, survive until you find work." Elise stares at the envelope like it might explode. "Why would you do this?" "Because despite everything that's happened, we were married for 12 years. That has to count for something. I cheated on you. I lied to you. I tried to humiliate you in public. Yes, you did. But you were also manipulated by someone who wanted to use you to hurt me. You made bad choices, but you didn't deserve what Graham did to you." She picks up the envelope with trembling hands, her eyes filling with tears. "There's one condition," I continue. "You take the money and disappear. New city, new life, new start. But you don't come back here and you don't contact me again. Ever. Jonah, It's not negotiable, Elise. This is me buying your exit from my life. Take it or leave it." She nods, clutching the envelope against her chest. "I'll take it. And Jonah, thank you. You're a better man than I deserve." "No, I'm not. But I'm not the monster Graham wanted me to become either." I stand up and drop a 20 on the table to cover her coffee. "Take care of yourself, Elise." "You too." I'm halfway to the door when she calls my name. "Jonah, for what it's worth, I think you're going to be happier without me." I turn back to look at her one last time. This woman who shared my bed and my life for 12 years, now reduced to a broken figure in a roadside diner. "Yeah," I say quietly. "I think you're right." Outside, I sit in my car for a moment, processing what just happened. $50,000 is a significant chunk of my savings, but it's worth it to close this chapter of my life permanently. Elise will take the money and disappear, probably to some city where nobody knows her story. She'll find work, maybe even find happiness eventually. And I'll never have to see her again. My phone rings. It's Trish. "I saw the news about Graham," she says without preamble. "Yeah, tough break." "Don't be cute, Jonah. We both know you're responsible for this." "I'm responsible for filing a harassment complaint. What the police discovered after that had nothing to do with me. Graham's looking at 10 years in prison. His business is finished. His reputation is destroyed. Sounds like he should have thought about that before he decided to commit fraud." There's a long pause on the other end of the line. "You win," Trish says finally. "Is that what you want to hear? You win." This was never about winning, Trish. This was about survival. Same thing, isn't it? I consider this. Maybe it is. For what it's worth, Jonah, I'm sorry. About all of it. About what we did to you. About what we did to your wife. About what I said 20 years ago. We all made mistakes, Trish. The difference is, I learned from mine. And now? Now I move on. I suggest you do the same. I hang up and drive back to my shop, where Sam is waiting with a stack of new orders and a grin that could power the entire city. "Boss, you're not going to believe this," he says excitedly. 3 new clients called this morning. Big accounts. Apparently word's getting around that Crane Print Solutions is the most reliable shop in the city. I look at the order forms, a law firm, a medical practice, and a small manufacturing company. All of them former clients of Graham's cybersecurity business, all of them looking for someone they can trust. Funny how that works, I murmur. What's funny? Nothing, Sam, just thinking about how sometimes justice takes care of itself. I spend the rest of the day working on the new orders, losing myself in the familiar rhythms of design and production. It feels good to be busy again, to have a future to plan for. At closing time, I lock up the shop and walk to O'Malley's for a drink. Davy's behind the bar, polishing glasses and holding court with the usual crowd of regulars. "Well, well," he says as I approach, "if it isn't the most dangerous man in the city. What's that supposed to mean?" Word on the street is that Graham Loring made the mistake of crossing Jonah Crane, and now he's looking at a decade in prison. The bar goes quiet, everyone turning to look at me with a mixture of respect and wariness. "Graham Loring made the mistake of committing fraud," I say calmly. "The fact that he was also harassing me is just a coincidence." Davy pours me a bourbon and slides it across the bar. "Sure it is." I take a sip of the whiskey, savoring the burn. Around me, the conversation gradually returns to normal. Sports, politics, the weather. But I can feel the subtle change in how people look at me, how they speak to me. 2 weeks ago, I was just another regular customer, a guy whose wife ran off with her boyfriend. Tonight, I'm someone to be respected. Someone not to be crossed. It's a strange feeling, but not an unpleasant one. So what's next? Davy asked quietly. Next, I run my business, pay my bills, and live my life, same as always. And if someone else decides to mess with you, I finish my bourbon and set the glass on the bar. Then they'll learn the same lesson Graham did, which is? I stand up and drop a 20 on the bar, looking around the room one last time. Every face that meets my eyes quickly looks away. That some people are dangerous precisely because they look harmless, I say quietly, and that the smartest predators are the ones who never let you see them coming. I walk out of O'Malley's into the cool October night, my footsteps echoing off the empty sidewalk. Tomorrow, I'll start fresh new clients, new projects, new possibilities. The past is finally buried, and the future is mine to shape. Graham Loring spent 8 months planning his revenge, convinced that he was the spider and I was the fly. But he forgot the most important rule of predation. Sometimes the fly bites back, and sometimes the bite is fatal.